Welcome, folks, to the Lightkeeper is Gone demo. How is everyone doing this fine eve of Halloween Eve? This is a demo that I again stumbled across just recently, despite having tons in the backlog of games that came out last year at the very least. That's like, ooh, this looks good, because we haven't had a good Lighthouse game. Now this one's not out yet. Its planned release date is sometime in Q4, so sometime during this last quarter of the year. Which they only have like 2 months left in the year, so I hope that works for them. Demo for it. Let's go. Toward thee I roll, thou all-destroying but unconquering whale. Till last I grapple with thee. From hell's heart I stab at thee. For hate's sake I spit my last breath at thee. Captain Ahab. Hey pal, come up here for a chat. Space to use the journal. We've arrived. Still haven't spoken a word. What's bothering you? What happened to the last Lightkeeper? Couldn't tell you. Just remember coming in and with the mail delivery one time, and by my next visit she was gone. Who's writing letters to her? Family, I think. Parents were old. She needed the money. The lighthouse paid well. Is there something untoward in those letters? Maybe. We haven't cleaned up the island yet. Understaffed. Maybe you'll find some clues. Anyway, don't dwell on that. Things like that don't happen often. Any tips for the job? I'll manage. You fill the lamp with kerosene, pump the tank up to pressure, light it up, wind the clockwork. There'll be some notes left for you with the details. What about food? Last keeper disappeared with the cellar key, so you'll have to get your food fresh. Be a fishing rod somewhere nearby. I'll come in with other supplies once a month. With the key? Seriously? Don't shoot the messenger. Alright. Don't forget your stuff. The crate, I mean. I won't. Not very comfortable bench. The idiot. We are just about there. We're here, pal. Sorry, pal. Can't linger. More work to do. Drop your stuff out on the shack and get the lighthouse running first things first. It's been dark for almost a month now. Will do. Godspeed, pal. Please. Be careful. Goodbye. This is indeed a very lonely looking little lighthouse. Probably put our stuff in the cabin, right? Now we have to get the lighthouse. Get to the lighthouse. Can unpack later. Stop to pocket watch. That makes sense. Stove. Candle. Old bottle of cough syrup. That's not good that someone left a book out in the rain. That's not good at all. I'm not sure what we did with those boxes, but we definitely moved them. I wonder if we just shoved them over the side. Be a bit of a shame if we did. They could be useful. It's weird that there's not a worn path up here. You'd think there would be, with as often as a keeper would have to traverse this. Definitely one of the very barren type lighthouses you'd see, like in the English Channel and around that area for shipping. Considering kerosene is the main oil listed. Could be during the Victorian era. You know. But could be as early as late 20th? Could be early 20th century, could be 1700s, 18th century. There's the weight that keeps the thing turning. So far, very anachronistic. After all, lighthouse technology, until the invention of electricity, really hadn't changed in a while. Not really. Of course, if it has a Fresnel lens, then we could definitely date it. The instructions we were told about. Well, this is a clockwork system, so... The lighthouse must be lit, and the clockwork started every evening and in low visibility. Inspect the Fresnel lens. Okay, so it is post-Fresnel lens, so that would be... Fresnel lens was 18th century? I think... Been a while since I've I think it's 18th century, 17th or 18th century, maybe even 19th century, might be early 19th century. It's been a while. I'll have to look up what when the Fresnel lens was. Access chamber to fill the kerosene red tank of the lamp. Use the oil can and the kerosene drum stored below the lens floor. Pump the tanks up to pressure, approximately 4 atmospheres. Ignite the lamp, close the lens, operate the clockwork mechanism until the drum is fully wound. Function autonomously and should approximately last through the night. And log operational details before departing. This is always the dangerous part of it. Need the oil can. That is The oil can. Yep, that's a Fresnel lens. Yep. Oh, okay. Yes, that is in fact a Fresnel lens. It was one of the nicer inventions to the lighthouse keeping. Pressure's next. Oh, and then we have to put this back down. Now it's time to light the lamp. Now to engage the clockwork. That is... Oh, that must be for cleaning. It definitely has a similar graphical aesthetic for some of the WarioWare games. But I'd say it's a similar aesthetic to... What Lives Under the Lighthouse? That kind of graphical style, like, it's an early... Oh, he can use that move. Oh, that's unfortunate. I mean, it makes sense that he could use it, what with all the arms. Now, running down a set of stairs like this, that'd be exceptionally dangerous. It's a good way to trip and fall and die. Though the fact they didn't find the previous Lightkeeper is concerning. I'd say this is more along the lines of an early... attempting to recreate the art style of like kind of early Alone in the Dark, but in first person. You know, heavy draw distance. It's definitely not an aesthetic I mind. You can definitely get some good looking games out of this dithering, heavy cast. It's real good for atmosphere and for horror games. Yeah, Subier using those moves would be terrifying. I would love for there to be a 3. Yeah. I mean, it's entirely possible that if it comes out, depending on what other games we've got going on, it would definitely be on the list and high up the list, but there's other games that are on the list, like... oh, that's what it was. It was Neo 3's coming out in February. And at the same time, there was another game in February that I've just lost track of in my brain. Right, the Deus Ex remaster. It would definitely be on the priority list. But depending on what other games we've got going on at the time, it might take a little bit to get to. Like, Neo 2 has been on the list for ages. Ages. But we still haven't gotten to it. And with Neo 3 coming out, that's also on the list. I reckon I could get used to this job. Seems simple enough. However, I can't help but feel uneasy. I have to wonder if I'm being told the full story. Why would the last keeper disappear with the only cellar key? I have to find a way to get the cellar open. Am I in danger of going missing as well? Sounds like she was heavily suspicious of whatever was in the cellar. That is always concerning. Close the shutters before going to bed, huh? I suppose that does make some degree of sense. You never know if a storm might come upon you in the middle of the night, and the last thing you want to do is have to run out into the storm to close the shutters. Though the fact the shutters don't fully block the light is concerning. Perhaps it's just my paranoia. What's with this light? As much as I can. I don't normally do anything special for the holiday. Oh, I think I understand you there. Something is smoking down there. Though with the cellar door being open, that's also concerning. Also, the pathway is blocked off, so something... That's a ship. What's a ship doing passing by? Why is the lighthouse turned off? Yeah, I don't normally do something myself for Halloween. It's just because when Halloween's during the week, it's like I gotta work during the week. And since I work second shift, I don't get home until well after dark, so I don't get to hand out candy. What's real funny is what's real good is the cheap Halloween candy after Halloween. Something is definitely going on inside this cellar. Could just be our main protagonist. Could be just their imagination. Maybe they have, like me, an understanding that things exist in the dark that you don't want to know about. Ah, of course they would do that. Yeah, oh. That's absolutely terrible behavior. The walls. They bleed. They move. They squish. The blood gets deeper. Let us try hurrying through. It does have an ending. What should we say? A corner. And it spirals. Ever deeper. But it does lead somewhere. The question becomes, where? That is entirely possible. And yet it disappears. A lone bench by a tree underneath a small patch of either blue sky or water. Who can know? Are you certain this is what you want? What a terrible dream to have. Where was that fishing rod? We didn't see one on our little journey. We didn't see the fishing rod on our journey up here. No fishing rod here. They just left their trash around, which is not good. Well, they have what looks like that's a spade. So they have a spade. I don't see a reason to really open the shutters if we don't have to. I didn't see a fishing rod anywhere immediate. Possibly down by the docks? That'd be a place to store it. Worms. Oh, good. And there's the fish. And there is an entire fishing minigame in here. In this game. Maybe they put it over there. We're definitely going to need worms for bait. Lighthouse keeping is a job that not everyone could get along on, especially these solo jobs as they existed on these little rock outcroppings like this. Pictures, huh? Someone left their pictures on the latrine. That's a weird place to put it. Don't need a shovel. Extra kerosene drums. At least we know there are worms out in the dirt here. And worms definitely do like surfacing after rain. Yeah, and there's no smokehouse here either, so preserving the fish for multiple days is possible with the sun, but it is less easy to do. Should be enough to catch a few fish. And still worm buddies around. Caught a cod. He's pretty good. He's a 4-kilogram fish. I don't see why we shouldn't keep him. Ooh. He's a 3-kilogrammer. Can't hurt. Ooh. I can now return home and cook myself a nice meal. We even have this nice little boat, so we could go towards the deeper shoals at some point and catch something other than some shallow cod. Though, it didn't look like there were like any spices or anything, so it's gonna be just a very plain fried fish, and I'm not even sure it's gonna be that much fried, because it didn't look like there was much cooking fats. Like, not much cooking fats at all. Yeah, just some baked cod. That is entirely new. Wondering where the old Lightkeeper went? The old willow might have something of value. We do need to unpack. We should investigate the willow tomorrow, I think. I know for some people during the day they like opening their curtains and in this keeper's idea, you know, opening the shutters to let the light in and such. I don't, because my house is basically exists in perpetual twilight inside, and I'm fine with that. I'm a weird individual. I get along working well on the off shifts. You know, second and third shift. Honestly, if this type of work, a lighthouse keeper was still available, and existed as it did, and well, granted, my fear of heights would prevent me from actually doing it, but this type of work would probably be my preferred type. Especially in some of the earlier ones before the Fresnel lens was around. When, like, you'd have to... Like, you'd have to, every half hour to an hour or so during the night, go pump up and recharge and spin the thing. Spin the lighthouse. Of course, at that point, it was generally like a multi-person operation. You know, 2 or 3 people. Because you'd have to sleep in shifts. Let me light the lamp. And then get out of the way of the blinding beam, because that will blind you. Now, this is also one of those unusual horror games with multiple endings based on your choices. Which means, based on what we've already seen, you could probably have investigated the Willow instead of unpacking. And you probably could have been very gruff to the poor boatman. And you might even be able to get away with not lighting the lighthouse at later points, like if you conveniently could forget to. Or we could try and investigate the Willow. But we're in no rush. The old Willow. She does call to us. I think we will try and do that. See what we've got going on at the old Willow. It could say that, possibly. This is the old willow. It is leaning kind of oddly. Nothing immediately suspicious about it. Other than the fact it's leaning over. Like something severely. Like willows generally don't do that. Not like that. Unless something has pushed them. Unusual tree. Unusual tree for a lighthouse. Except that's the only willow, too. Everything else is pretty much a much more standard generic tree. Definitely looks much older than the other trees because it's so large. It's a very suspicious willow tree. Though we do have to question why our character decided to go to the lighthouse and become a lighthouse keeper. That's not something most people would do. There are strange things happening on this island. Somehow, a note appeared on my doorstep. Could it have been addressed to me? It said something about the willow. Wait, what was that? It can't be. A person? Well, I figured it would be a short demo. Indie game demos tend to be fairly short. And that is the entire demo. Fairly short, as you'd expect. Honestly, very intriguing. It's always kind of interesting where they could go with these things. Depends on how in-depth they keep, like, the survival mechanics. For example, the fishing being very important to your character. Same thing with the firewood. If you have to stockpile that while you're searching, you know, there's a lot of things you could do with something along these lines. Or you could go the route of, what was the other one? What's the other lighthouse game? No One Lives Under the Lighthouse. Where you go with the whole, you've got a story to tell. You're going with this type of body and this body horror and unknown civilizations. Along with kind of secrets and things. Or you go with a very short experience, although this is very clearly not what they're going for. With, like, Lighthouse Keeper, which we played last year. Which was just a real short visual story. That kind of thing. Definitely very intriguing. I like the aesthetic and I like what they're doing. Escape from Ever After. I don't think so. I've never heard of that. From Ever After. There it is. I'll have to add that to the list. I'll definitely add that to the list. That definitely looks very intriguing. Yeah. I'll get started on the downloading of that. I can't guarantee that that's what's going to be played next. In fact, I can almost guarantee that's not what's getting played next week. Because there's a demo that just came out for Dino Blade, which is a hilarious game about dinosaurs. And dinosaurs that use giant swords. Or swords, period. That's going to be the demo for next week. It started out as someone's Blender test. I mean, quite literally, they posted it like a YouTube Shorts. They just made an animation for a dinosaur using a giant sword and what that would look like. And everyone was like, is this a game you're making? And the guy said, the guy didn't do anything with it for like 6 months to a year or something like that. And then all of a sudden he's like, all of this this excitement that was built around his couple of animations, he's like, you know what? I like those animations I did. I'm going to actually make a game about that. And he did. So Dino Blade exists sometime next year, and they just released the demo for it, so that's going to be the next demo for sure. But we'll throw Escape from Ever After. Oh, the demo's out on Steam, and you can probably find his old animations. They are hilariously good. And the guy never created a game. He was just an animator who was doing some animation things that he thought was cool. And all of a sudden he's like, people are interested in this. I should do this. So he did it. Yeah, I'll gladly take suggestions on demos or even full games. You think it'd be cool? I have a running list and tally of games to be played. There's a lot of them. I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of them. And also, since I'm running Linux, I'm always interested to see what games work and which ones don't. And granted, it's been less than a year of being on Linux. I've yet to find one that doesn't boot. Now, this demo, for whatever reason, did require a minor tweak in order to get working. It wouldn't boot up by itself. I had to do a small tweak in Steam in order to get it to work. But once you learn those types of small tweaks, getting most games to run doesn't seem like that much of an issue. So I'm always interested to see what games work. If you have a suggestion for a game you want to see, honestly, I'd like to see if it'll even run. Like, I've yet to encounter one that I have that doesn't. There are some, and I'll say this right now, we know Battlefield 6 does not. And that's because for some reason, there's something in that game, in its programming, that requires Windows. I do not know what, but it does not work on Linux. So we know that one is out the door, which is unfortunate. For whatever godforsaken reason. Besides, I'm not a big Battlefield fan myself. But that's the demo. I figured it'd be a short one. Those do tend to happen. I want to see where they're going with this. Hopefully it comes out soon so I can play it. Because I really want to know where they're going with this. Because very clearly we're going for some type of body horror. But what is going on with this island? Something supernatural of sorts is going on. So we'll see everyone on the 1st. We're going to finish up Resident Evil Village Saturday, 2 p.m. We're basically at the end of Heisenberg's factory. I think the boss fight is literally next. And then from there, we go from Heisenberg to Mother Miranda and the end of the game. How much more is actually left? Hopefully just that one stream. But you can never count a Resident Evil game out. That much is certain. We'll see you all next time.